This is a recess session of the Board of Commissioners that we met this morning and recessed until this afternoon. So this is the morning Board of Commissioners session, back in session at this time. Just a little housekeeping effort there. We're here this afternoon to talk about a long history that the town of Nags Head has had with Hillco and Tar River Associates Limited and Colony Ridge. This all started back in, we'll talk about the background and how the town came to own Colony Ridge, which was quite a story in its own. Where we are now, what's next, and then key facts that we all need to keep in mind during this time, and then most importantly, what each of you can do to help us out. This all really started back in 1977 when a group of people came to the town and said, we want to start a nursing home on the Outer Banks, and we really don't have money to do it. So back in December of '79, the town deeded 4 acres to Outer Banks Haven at that time to start a nursing home. And then not a whole lot happened. But basically the names on the ownership of the lot changed 3 different times between then and 1981. North Carolina requires for a town to finance an operation like this, it must be run by a nonprofit organization. So the town developed a nonprofit organization and issued bonds, and then those bonds were used to build a nursing home, and that was completed in 1981. And then the certificate of need was issued to Outer Banks Healthcare in 1981. Bridhaven was formed in Nags Head in 1984, and the ownership was transferred to Bridhaven. Then in 1991, the town refinanced the debt on Bridhaven because in 1991 the bond obligation was to be paid off, and when it was paid off, one of the stipulations was, and it is North Carolina law, that when this type of obligation is paid off, the ownership of the facility reverts to the town. So the facility was refinanced in 1991, so the ownership didn't revert to the town at that time. That's how we came to own the land. Was the financing agreement, and that financing agreement went through 2011. Town officials worked with Bridhaven officials to bring the nursing home to town, and in return for that financing agreement, the ownership, after the bonds were paid off, had to revert to the town, and that happened in 2011. Before the ownership reverted to the town, back in February of 2011, the town asked the Tar River Group, which had become owners of the local Bridhaven at that time, to discuss a long-term lease. Also at that time, the town was not satisfied with the quality of the facility and the maintenance that Tar River had conducted on the facility and the condition they'd let it get in. So the town started looking for alternative nursing home operators at that time. The town and county officials met here with Tar River management in March of 2000 and let them know what the problems were. And then in June of 2011, and many of you remember this one, Tar River sent a notice to the residents that they intended to close the facility as of August 1st, 2011. The problem that we had at that time in these negotiations was the certificate of need. No nursing home facility can be operated in North Carolina without a certificate of need. There's only one in Dare County. The same would be true with the hospital. And you remember how the hospital was located here. There was a contest over the certificate of need. Tar River said that they owned the certificate of need. The town said we owned the certificate of need. That the Tar River says the certificate of need goes with the operator. The town says North Carolina law has, and court cases have shown that the certificate of need goes with the facility. Tar River said that's fine, but we're not going to release it. And if you want to do it, we'll shut the facility down and take you to court on see who determines who has a certificate of need. And that will take at least 2 years in court before it's resolved. So the nursing home would have been shut down for at least 2 years at that time had we proceeded with that. Given those conditions, the town signed a lease with Tar River in September 2011. And that was for 10 years because that was the maximum under North Carolina law that the town could sign a lease at that time. We were charging them a grand total of $10 a month, $120 a year, because the town of Nags Head wanted all of the proceeds from Colony Ridge to go to the nursing home and to the patients there. We didn't want to make anything off of it. Tar River was to maintain the facility, and they were also to invest $1.5 million in the facility improvements that were needed at that time. Those facility improvements were to be made by June the 30th of 2013. We gave them 18 months to make those improvements. So as the bond obligations were paid off, the ownership of Colony Ridge reverted to the town in October of 2011. Something that Tar River hadn't really expected, and that was the town was, as part of the lease agreement, we agreed that if we could get a longer than 10-year lease, a 15-year lease, then the certificate of need would definitely belong to the town. So we had special legislation. Stan White took it to Raleigh, and we got legislation to lease a facility for 15 years plus 2 15-year renewals. So that ensured that the certificate of need definitely belongs to the town of Nags Head. And so we got past that hurdle by the lease agreement. The lease agreement's still for $10 a month, $120 a year. Just to give you some idea of what this facility, if a nursing home might lease for, if it was just a warehouse facility, it's 44,000 square feet, and it would lease probably for $120,000 a year. So $120 a year is a real deal. But we wanted all of those funds to go back into taking care of the patients in Colony Ridge. We didn't want to make anything out of it. September 2013 came, and the deadline for the facility improvements passed. Now, during this time, we had a committee that met with Tar River Associates every 3 months to gauge the improvements. During those meetings, the only answers we would get is, I don't know, I'll check on that for you, I'll get back to you. There were no commitments made. Also, in about the same time in 2013, Tar River finally came through with a set of drawings, a site plan to make improvements to the nursing home. We expedited those through the planning board and approved them that month, took them to the town commissioners. They approved them that month, and then a month later, Tar River came back and said, we're not going to make these improvements. They're too expensive. We're not going to put that money into the nursing home. Tar River is not in default of their lease agreement because we haven't declared default yet, but they certainly haven't abided by their lease agreement. Despite all of our meetings, despite all of our pleas, during that time, according to Tar River, they have invested $500,000 of the $1.5 million in the nursing home. But the only improvements that were made was a new roof and some painting on some of the halls and a little bit of cabinet work. And it's certainly not worth $500,000, but we're not disputing that claim. That's still on the table. Late in 2013, as I stated before, they turned the site plans after they were approved. They said, we're not going to do that. In fact, we're not going to make any more improvements to Colony Ridge. They will make no more building improvements, that they're going to run it as it is. And since then, they've done no maintenance and very little maintenance and have not made any improvements. Also in January of 2014, something's not up there, we had an email communication from Randy Utzel of Tar River or Hilco or one of their subsidiaries. We haven't figured out which one he works for all the time, but he's paid by another subsidiary, we know that. Sent an email to the town that he was going to shut the facility down in 4 months. And that was in January of 2014. And we immediately had our attorney, Mr. Leiter, respond to him, no, you won't. There is no out agreement in your lease, that you're stuck. There's no way to get out of the lease other than complete default. And so then Tar River said, well, we've been looking for somebody to assign the lease to, and we can't find anybody to assign, a third party to assign the lease to. So the town at that time had Cahoon and Caston make a study of the facility, of what really needs to be done. And Ben Cahoon, bless his soul, took a lot of time and went around the facility on the outside, went through every room on the inside, and made a complete list of all the improvements that needed to be made to bring the facility up to code and to improve the aesthetics of the facility. That study also included adding a rehab gym to the Spark unit, and also to open up a patient day care day facility in the main building where they would have open view to the gardens and have a nice place that the patients could go in the daytime. That was all part of that $1.8 million in improvements that the Cahoon Caston report spelled out. We notified Tar River that we were going to seek other providers to manage the facility, and using that report, we went out and talked with 7 different suppliers. We had responsive quotes from 3 suppliers, and 2 of those suppliers later dropped out because they had tried to work with Tar River in assigning the lease, and Tar River was completely uncooperative with those people in assigning the lease. In December, we met in Raleigh with Peak Associates, Peak Resources, and the next day they had gotten in touch with Randy Utzel and had negotiated a firm fee of $550,000 for transfer of the lease. That was to include the transfer of the Medicaid and Medicare billing numbers. And they would make the needed improvements according to the Cahoon report. They would make those improvements to the facility. A little bit about Peak Resources. They're a family-owned and operated company. They started up in the western part of the state, had facilities there first, and then last year they moved their offices to Cary so they could cover statewide, and with that they know they can cover this outside. The family members are very personally involved. They're involved in all the facilities. The They take a conservative approach to business in that they don't want to expand too fast. They pick up a facility every 2 to 3 years as they can handle it. We had a group of our nursing home committee that visited 2 of their facilities that were the same age as Colony Ridge, and you see pictures of those 2 facilities there. The facilities were in good state of repair when we went there. We had Anita, my wife, and Susie Walters talk with patients. We had Tess Judge and Melody Corpue talk with the administrative people and how they staff their places and all the administrative procedures. Cliff and I took off and went and looked at the buildings structurally, what they were doing there. The buildings were well maintained. Their maintenance people were very energetic, said they had no problem getting money to maintain their facilities. Anything they needed, they were getting, and the facility showed that. Very nice looking facilities, and the biggest thing you have there, the patients are engaged, they're light, they're active, their staff is engaged because they use no contract people. They use only personal staff, and their people are engaged. They know what's going on, and they're very supportive of the entire operation. So we were very impressed with the 2 facilities that we looked at. Now, where's the problem? Peak has made the offer. We have a signed agreement with Peak to make the transfers. The problem is the transfer of the Medicaid, Medicare provider number. This is the number that is used to bill patients' care to Medicaid and Medicare. That provider number is critical because it takes 9 to 12 months to obtain that number on a new facility. And the Peak hasn't this number on all the other facilities, but the number is assigned to each individual facility, and it takes 9 to 12 months to get that number for a facility. In the case, and you cannot bill Medicare or Medicaid until you get that number. And in the case of Colony Ridge, that would mean that they would have to float a $6 to $7 million, that's $1 million debt for a 9 to 12 month period. And that just kills the deal. Tar River has so far refused to share that provider number. This is not unusual to have a facility that has a provider number for the outfit that's coming in to take that facility over to use that number until they can get their own. That is common practice when transferring ownership of nursing homes. So far, Tar River has refused to share that provider number, even temporarily with Peak, and that needs to be shared for this 9 to 12 month period while they get the new number. And that is a common practice in industry. In fact, Bridhaven has done that. By the way, Bridhaven owns 51 nursing homes in North Carolina, so they are a big outfit. So what's next? Tar River has 2 options. One is to make the required improvements and abide by the lease. The other is to transfer the building to a new management company. The town this morning voted to send a pre-default letter to Tar River. Tar River has 30 days to satisfy the lease, one way or the other, and we would accept assignment of the lease with the Medicaid, Medicare numbers as satisfying the default. If the default occurs, then Tar River has 75 days to vacate the building. Now, the rest of this, the town has no authority over whatsoever, and I wish we did, we would do it better. But the rest of this is entirely up to Tar River. If they decide not to honor the lease, then they've got 60 days to give notice to the residents. And then Tar River must find a home for each resident at another facility anywhere in the state. That is absolutely what we do not want to happen. But that's entirely in the hands of Tar River. The town cannot influence that one way or the other. Some key facts that I'd just like to finish up with. The town does not manage Colony Ridge facility, but it does own the building and the property. The taxpayers of Nags own the building and the property. And we went through how we came upon that ownership. For more than 5 years now, and I've been personally involved in this for at least 5 years, the town has advocated for better conditions for our Colony Ridge residents, with our pleas going unanswered. Now, this is not our Colony Ridge staff. We've got a fantastic Colony Ridge staff, and I compliment them for doing an outstanding job with the resources they have. It's a matter of Tar River is not giving them the resources. All the buildings from Colony Ridge go to Hilco, which is the ownership by all the brothers. All of those payments go to Hilco, and then the payments after they pay all of the salaries and overheads and bonuses of the Hilco family trickle back to Colony Ridge, and they have barely enough to operate on. So what we have there is certainly not anything to do with our Colony Ridge staff. They are unbelievable, the job that they do with the resources they have. And I think all of you will see that as you visit the facility. After careful consideration and many emails going back and forth, and that's just a list of the emails that have happened over the last 2 years. The only thing that we can do as a town to improve the care of our nursing home patients is to bring in a new management company that will be best for all. We have tried to do it otherwise. This is the only way that we have found that was going to work. January 2014, Tar River stated they would make the required improvements to the facility, and that they would not make the required improvements to the facility. Just came out flat, told us we're not going to abide by the lease. We're not going to make the improvements that we agreed to, and that they were considering transferring the lease. They were unable to find a company to take over management of Colony Ridge. The town went out and found a company that will take over the management of Colony Ridge, that we are confident that will do a good job based on what they're doing other places in the state. And they have 7 homes in the state. We visited 2 of those that were the same age as Colony Ridge, and you wouldn't believe the difference. They look almost like your facility. Not quite as good, but almost. Peak Resources has a strong record in managing similar facilities, and more importantly, they have a lot of experience in rehabbing facilities that are have been almost as bad a shape as Colony Ridge. They have experience. They know what to do to rehab a facility. We want to emphasize that the staff at Colony Ridge has provided a valuable service to Dare County, but it's their parent company that's not willing to fulfill the commitments that were outlined in the lease, and we see no improvement coming. We see a downward spiral on Colony Ridge that if we don't take these actions now, within a very few years, there will be no Colony Ridge. We feel like Tar River will probably be walking away from it. It's just, it will not be a feasible facility for anybody to operate. The most important thing to the town is to protect the Colony Ridge residents and ensure that our area continues to have a secure facility for all Dare County residents in the future. Now, what can you do to help? And we do plead for your help. Contact Tar River. Ask them to comply with the lease or refuse to abandon their residence. Assign the lease to somebody that will operate the facility properly. You have a handout that when you came in today that has all of the addresses on it. These are the principals. Randy Utzel is the facilities manager for Long-Term Care Incorporated, which is a new name for the Hilco operation on Tar River. We're not really sure which. But he is the main manager that has to make this transfer. The other individuals you have there are Hill brothers. Their father started the corporation. And one of those, I believe it's Robert, runs a construction company. Another one runs the drug company. Another one runs another facility. So everything that is billed from Colony Ridge goes back into the Hilco company somewhere. It's just two different pockets. With that, we're open for your questions, suggestions, comments, and concerns. We'll leave the floor open for anybody that has a question or comment. Peak Industry, we have their website on the presentation. And I encourage you to look at that website and take a good look at it, because we will be, they're the ones that we will be dealing with, and they're the ones that we will be putting our trust in to straighten the situation out. I don't have their website.
Right there.
Right there. It's www.peakresourcesinc.com. And you'll find all pictures of all of their nursing homes on that, and an outline. Now, they've got nursing homes that are rated all the way from 5-star. These are on the federal rating system, which is 5 stars the best you can get, 1 star is the least you can get. They have homes already rated from 5-star to 2-star. But the 2-star, there are specific reasons why they are 2-star for a time period, and they've got plans in place to improve those. Because of our operators at Colony Ridge, our ratings there are extremely good for the facility. I don't know how you do it. I don't see how you can do it with what you have. Yes.
You said that as of right now, Tar River has refused to share that provider number with Peak, and so it will not be possible. If they don't do that, it will not be possible for them to take over anytime soon. But I understand correctly that after whatever else is done in the interim, they will eventually be able to come back and take over management of the facility.
Yes, I didn't go through that because we hope this scenario doesn't happen, and we're doing everything in our power to keep it from happening. Tar River can be declared in default. They'll have 60 days, and they'll move all the patients out, which we absolutely do not want to happen. Worst case scenario, Peak will come in at that time and rehab the facility, and then bring any patients back in who would want to come back in. They would have the right of first refusal to get back in. But they would, while Peak is getting the number, they would go ahead and rehab the facility. And so when they come back in, it'll look like an almost new facility. Now, in that case, just in case, we've asked Representative Tyne to help us get that number sooner, as soon as possible, and he has agreed to expend all efforts that he can with the state departments to speed that number up. But it's a combination state-federal number, and there's not so much you can do to speed it up. And that's absolutely what we don't want to happen. Are there other questions? Yes, Kay?
As of today, do I understand that Hilco has not responded? Because I thought you said there was an agreement to transfer if they gave $500,000. They would transfer the lease assignment and the numbers. Are they not abiding by that original agreement?
They're not abiding by transferring the numbers
With Peak?
with Peak.
That's part of the original
That was Peak's understanding. Mr. Utzel says that was not his understanding. So, and I think we all have some history with him.
Definitely.
Any other questions? Yes.
You said the management company, and then they misunderstood, had to be a nonprofit.
For the town to finance a facility, we would finance would have to finance a nonprofit company. Now, that nonprofit company can hire a for-profit operator, but our relationship would be with a nonprofit company. And the ownership of the facility would revert to the town at the end of the finance agreement. And that's North Carolina state law as best we can understand it. Mr. Lighty might give us more information if that's not correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
Who was the actual decision maker with Hilco in terms of sharing the provider number? Is it Randy?
Randy.
Or is it?
That's the
So
total.
he is, I mean, the brothers have delegated all the decision making about the corporate structure on this facility to Randy?
Correct.
Evidently not. I'll give you some anecdotal data. Peak made the offer in December, and Randy said he would have to take it to his board, that he was not going to make the decision. So we emailed his board that this offer was coming to them. The board met the 27th of January. As of February 20th, Peak did still not have an answer. We emailed again, and Peak got an answer, that one sentence answer. What is your offer on the transfer? That's the total communication. Since that time, we've had a couple other communications. One is late this morning, notifying Randy that we were having this meeting and the action that the board was probably going to take today, which the board did take. He was very negative. So that's the reason we're asking you to communicate with the Hill brothers.
Right.
And we are
Do
communicating.
we know who the board chair is, who the board members are?
The three individuals we're talking about there are the ones that have to make the decision.
Mr. Mayor, since that all of the communication since the subsequent to that has been
We are communicating with the full board now since December, because we're getting nowhere before then and not getting any answers whatsoever. Now, that's the reason we've given you these names. Yes, Perry?
Does the website have all of the, I was on their website, and Randy's name was not listed as facility manager. There was a Stephen, somebody else that's listed on there. Does it, I didn't notice whether there was any way of finding the entire boards, how to communicate with them.
We have done the best we can, and this is what we've got.
It's a private company,
Private
so
company.
it's not required to disclose any of that.
Yes, anybody else? Another question?
Not a question, Bob. I have a letter that was given to me today by somebody who cannot be here about the quality of care.
Mhm.
If the thing has to be part of the record, do you want me to either read it, or can I just ask that the letter be made part of the record?
That we can make it part of the record, just give it to Carol after the meeting. Are there any other questions? Yes?
Mayor, what's the
Mark?
float needed, $8 million?
8 million, well, somewhere between 6 and 7 million is what we've calculated. And that's the problem. And as a town, we don't have the money, certainly don't have it in fund balance. And we can't lend it to Pete, loan it and lend it to Pete as a town. We'd have to go through this nonprofit corporation and it would be a thing that's just really not feasible. We've looked at that. Yes?
So as a community, when
I wish I could tell you otherwise, but right now I can't. Hopefully within 30 days, we'll be able to say, we've got it done, we've got a new provider, they're gonna come in, after the agreement's made, it'll take them 60 to 90 days to take over, and then we will start seeing improvements made. So that's what we hope is gonna happen. This next 30 days will tell us. Yes.
I understand that the patients there will be moved out while the improvements are being made, and they'll be into other facilities and other places in North Carolina.
Well,
It depends.
no.
They're not- they're
Yeah,
not-
there, let me explain that. If we get the lease transfer, you will not notice any change in operation. They will come in and make the improvements while the patients are all there, similar to what's been done. If Hillco decides not to do that, that they're gonna play hard nosed, and they're gonna turn down $550,000 just to play hard nosed with the town, then that's what will happen, that the patients will be moved out. And while Peak is getting that transfer number, they will go ahead and make the improvements so that the facility will be in full service once they get their transfer numbers. Peak has, Resources has agreed to pay that right up front. They're interested in having a nursing home on the Outer Banks and interested in Colony Ridge, and they have moved their corporate headquarters to Cary, anticipating they'll have nursing homes in eastern North Carolina.
And that's what Hill agreed to. I mean, Hill, that was the figure that we agreed to.
Yeah, he originally agreed to that back in December. Mr. Oaks?
So that won't be paid to the fourth of the lease, correct?
What was that?
That $550,000 won't be paid to the co in the fourth of the lease.
No, that's right. We have to go to termination of the lease, default on the lease, then that $550,000 will not be paid to Hillco.
So they can either take $550,000 or they can go to court.
Right. And pay some additional court costs. So that's Hillco's decision. I think it's pretty well spelled out. Yes, Kay?
Just to summarize that as I understand it, all that Hillco has to do is to say, you may have those provider numbers for this $550,000 that you're paying. For the transfer of the lease, $550,000 will include the two Medicare and Medicaid provider number until
For Peak to use 9 to 12 months. And Peak has agreed to hold Hillco harmless and do whatever contractual agreements they need to do to hold Hillco harmless. They've already agreed to that.
That's what we need to advocate for Hillco, is to transfer those numbers for that money.
Right.
They can't hold us hostage over the provider,
Right.
which is what they're trying to do.
That's what they're trying to do. Any other questions? If you have any other questions later on, any concerns, please let us know.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to make a comment. I commend Nags because you all have really gotten involved. There's been a lot of talk over the years. You know, I'm not saying that as much as we all would love for our community to have state-of-the-art facilities, we would all love that. In absence of that, we can't have that. Our citizens deserve clean, well-maintained, well-staffed, nurtured care. They deserve that, and you all have certainly worked to that end, and I certainly appreciate the efforts of the people of Nags.
Well, thank you. Tess, you were on the trip or we went to visit the Peak facility. What was your impression?
I was very, very impressed with the cleanliness of the facilities, how well maintained they were, and the staff. Just like our college group staff, very caring people. A lot of interaction with the residents. I was very, very pleased. The grounds were very nice.
Anita, you talked with some of their patients. What were your impressions?
That they care what the residents needed, that way, that we got a lot of the patients like recipes with beans and things like that. They were well attuned to that, and they did prepare the kinds of dishes that particular locale
different for each locale.
And I talked, my job was to go out and talk with the residents, and I did not see, except for my mail, to be dissatisfied with all the consultant. And that man just said, if I did that.
So, he just plain didn't want to be there, did he? Melanie, you were there. What were your impressions?
I agree with the meetings, the staff that had a great rapport with the residents. Residents we talked to, had good things to say. The building was clean, well kept, even though they were over,
Mayor Pro Tem Walters, if you'd like to make a comment?
Yes, I was really pleasantly surprised at both facilities we visited. Again, they were about the same age as our current Colony Ridge facility, but very well maintained. They were refurbishing all of the rooms. Everything was freshly painted, nice floors, very clean, all of the appropriate equipment and furnishings, nothing really worn or torn or in disrepair. The staff, they had a full staff, and I actually pulled future schedules to make sure that wasn't just an anomaly on the day we were there, and it was not. So, and they don't use contract workers or contracted services. They hire employees, year-round employees, and they provide benefits for their employees. They believe that's very important, and I think having that continuity of care is really important for people who are in a long-term facility. So I was very impressed.
And they said they were able to keep permanent employees because they paid the wage rates that were applicable in the community and made sure they were better than the average wage rates in the community. And they had benefits, which is a strange animal these days. Mr. Ogren, what did you think?
Very impressed, and it's obvious that Peak is very much wants to be here. After we met and it toured their facilities, and we told them we were interested in for them to try and reach out to Tar River and make a deal, and they asked Mr. Uzel what it would take, and Mr. Uzel told him a $550,000 figure, and Peak immediately agreed to that. So, I think they obviously want to be here, and they're willing to do good things for our community.
Good. Any other questions, concerns? Ms. Perry?
I have been following this all the way since the very beginning, since the threat to throw everybody out on the street. I've been on the website or visited or talked to corporations across the state as I've traveled around and heard names of various places that might come here. I have looked at a lot of the websites. Peak is comparable or better than any of the other websites that I went on for the look, the quality, the staffing, the ratings, and everything else of any other company that I looked at in North Carolina. I think you have made a fine choice and negotiated a fine contract to get it done.
Yeah, all we got to do is get it done. and that's where everybody in this room comes in. We need your help. Let's all lobby the Hill brothers in particular that we need to get this done. We need to get those numbers assigned, work out the legal agreements, and let's get this done. It's for the good of our community and good for all of our residents in Dare County.
Did you say you did have an agreement, or it did with, Tar?
Yeah.
A signed agreement that said
No,
they'll
that's-
transfer everything for $550?
That's a verbal agreement, and we've not been able to get that, put that in writing yet. Yes, Mr. Judge?
Mayor, I don't need to say this in this room. First of all, I remember December 11th. You all, and my phone never stopped ringing.
No.
Husbands and wives, desperate, crying, and it was very difficult. And, but what I want to say to you all is that this is a Dare County facility, these are Dare County residents. Maybe the resident in the home today didn't live here, but they live here now because their children were caring for them,
Right.
brought them here. And I just salute you all have just carried a huge burden. I know it's in your town,
Right.
and you all have that early history of getting it started and whatnot, so you absolutely feel obligated to keep it running. But this is bigger than an exit issue to our friends in the press. I mean, we need to drive home that point. This is
It's a Dare County issue.
this is a Dare County issue, and if it takes lobbying, then we really need to have a bigger call in this room,
Right.
a bigger outcry than this room, and certainly a bigger outcry than Nags.
Right.
And I will do my best to pass that word along. I've got a handful of people out there who, if we can passionately touch them with this, we might be able to get some more letters going.
Well, let's hope so.
So, but I thank you all, seriously, because you all are, if I knew somebody who would float you $8 million tonight, I'd keep it.
Yeah. Well, if we knew that, we would do it.
That's fine.
Are the families of Howard Bridge, they are aware of how imminent this is? And I'm just saying.
We-
No.
We tried to get that information in, and it was not disseminated. We have tried to get it in and tried to be made it known, and it was not disseminated.
The major thing is that we don't want to have to go through what we went through when they were farming out, which they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Residents. It nearly destroyed the staff, and it still bothers me, of what went on. It was horrible. And I don't want to see it again.
And
Residents.
and we know that, and that's the reason we have bent over backwards to avoid that. And we hopefully we will, with your help, we will be able to avoid it and get this thing transferred and be able to move on, where we'll have a nice facility for all of our patients. That's the only thing we're interested in. If there are no more questions or comments, we certainly thank all of you for coming this afternoon. And this has to be a community effort. We're doing all that we can to get this done, but it has to be a community effort, and we would ask you to participate with us. And anyone that you know that can participate with us, please do so, because we need to get this done for the long-term care of all of our nursing home patients in Dare County. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.